That's good. Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Today we are going to be doing a battle between two concealers. So we have one from Lancome and one from ESTEE Lauder. So lately I feel like the trends with concealer is like everybody's coming out with like serum concealers that are like, oh, it's gonna make your skin look super hydrated but still give you a lot of coverage. And so along those lines I was like, you know what, I'm gonna pick up the two concealers from really reliable makeup brands and try and pit them against each other. So to start out, what we'll do is we'll talk about each of these concealers and kind of like a quick description of it. And we'll start with the Lancome. This is their serum concealer. This is part of their Teint Idole line. And this is their Care and Glow serum concealer. It's supposed to give you a natural skin glow with all day hydration. I have this in the shade 240W. From a packaging perspective, I actually like this. Lancome has another Teint Idole concealer that has like the black packaging on top, where that is a wonderful concealer, like full coverage, wears well throughout the day. However, one annoying thing about that black concealer is that the doe foot applicator is impossible to take out. It's just like a really weird shape. This concealer does not have that problem. You can see it's very easy to lift this out. And the doe foot applicator itself is very interesting where it comes to like a very specific point. So it actually makes it really easy to kind of get right into the center of like your under eye, to get into that like tiny little triangle corner where it's like always inevitably like the darkest point on your face. Like this makes it really easy to just get right on up in there, and you can apply concealer. Super easy in terms of packaging. So A+ on packaging from Lancome. Now on the Estee Lauder side, their packaging is a little bit larger, and from Estee Lauder, this is the Futurist Soft Touch Brightening Skincealer, which I was like, really guys, like just call it a concealer. It's fine. You don't have to make up new words. But anyway, that's what they did. And this is supposed to be a long wear, medium to full coverage concealer with skincare built in. It's supposed to be a silky hybrid formula with a soft touch precision applicator, which will cover and brighten your dark circles. Packaging wise, this is a lot bulkier than the Lancome. So if you are really into travel, this is like -10 because I'm like, why is it so large? This is very unnecessary. Also, the issue with packaging with this as well is that you get that point where the doe foot is actually like harder to get out. So you get that like stuck feeling. And so you're always very nervous when you pull it out. You're like, ugh, is it gonna go flying everywhere? Kind of an issue. Now, what I like about the Estee Lauder one though is it has a very similar doe foot applicator, but this one is just a little bit more stiff. So if you are someone that really likes like a stiffer, more precise applicator with your concealers, I think you would really like the Estee Lauder. Okay, so that is packaging from both of these concealers. Pluses and minuses on both sides. Now let's talk a little bit about application. So with the Lancome concealer, this is actually a really nice thin formula. It does not feel like it's a hybrid formula where it's like, it's very clear that there's like skincare built into this, right? This is something that's just gonna go on very smooth. The coverage is very even from beginning to end. It's a really nice application experience. On the Estee Lauder side, this is a little bit interesting because they actually talk about how this is like, and I guess this is why they call it a skin sealer, right? It's like, it's a combination of both skincare and concealer, but when you apply this, you can tell that there is definitely like, it's a hybrid. Like you can tell that there's serum built into this. And the reason why is because when you apply it on the back of your hand and when you're applying it onto your face, so what ends up happening is, and you can actually even see this on the back of my hand, do you see how this is like a very full coverage, like even application, whereas with this, man, you can see like that vein in my hand is like popping through, right? So you can see that this is just not the most even coverage in terms of like a concealer. So in terms of like blending it out on your face from like an application standpoint, I just find I have to work a little bit harder with the Estee Lauder concealer. Oh, I'm sorry, Skincealer. And so in that way, from an application perspective, the Lancome definitely wins over the Estee Lauder. Like this is just an easier concealer to work with. Wear time wise, however, this is the part where like the tides kind of turn on the concealer, because like when I first tried this, I was like, oh, Lancome is gonna win this battle. I like the way that it applies. It's really, really beautiful. Like it's a very nice, glistening, like beautiful concealer. It makes my under eyes look not dry at all. But the wear time of it, not as good as the Estee Lauder concealer. And so I tried both of these concealers on its own. So no foundation on my face, just concealer on my face. And I would actually say that the Estee Lauder lasted longer in that regard. And I kept everything like pretty much the same. So like all of my skincare, all of the powders that I used on top, like everything was the same. So I made sure that the test was like as standard as possible. And just throughout the day, the Estee Lauder just lasted a lot longer, even though the application of it took a little bit more futzing around with to get it to really blend into my skin. However, it's very odd because I actually feel like the Lancome looks better on skin tints and foundations over the Estee Lauder. And the reason for that, I think, is because it is an easier application. So like everything just kind of like smooths on very quickly. You're not sitting there kind of using a brush and having to like really stipple and like force that concealer to blend into the skin tint or the foundation. And in that way, actually, when it was sitting on top of a foundation, it lasted a perfectly decent amount of time. Like I would say that this concealer probably lasted without creasing for about like 12 hours or so, which is like friggin' awesome in my opinion. But when this concealer was just on its own, I would notice that it really started to fade right around like the 6 to 8 hour mark, which like to me is like unacceptable, even though they say that this one is supposed to be relatively long wear. But if you're really truly looking for like an actual long wear formula that has like skincare built into it, I would go with the Estee Lauder. The last point that I also wanted to touch on was kind of just the finish of both of these concealers, because at the end of the day, when you're looking at something that's really like a serum-y type concealer, the whole point of it is that it's supposed to make your under eyes look very hydrated. It's supposed to feel like very thin on your face, so it's not gonna be like your Tarte Shape Tape type concealers where it's like boom, like full coverage. This is something that's supposed to literally just look like you're wide awake without anything like on your skin, if that makes sense. From that perspective, both of these are beautiful in terms of how they wear on your skin. I do not notice any caking. I don't notice any weird creasing. Both of these just feel honestly invisible on your skin, and it feels like both of them are just like a second skin finish, if you will. The Lancome one, even as I'm moving my hand around, like the Lancome one just has a little bit more of that glossy, beautiful skin-like finish, very dewy, whereas the Estee Lauder one, you can see it kind of dries down into a little bit more of a matte finish. The other thing I also want to point out in terms of like a finishing type kind of product too, is that sometimes I will use concealer to go back in and like kind of touch up on my face. The Estee Lauder did not work for that at all. Like there's something about the way that this sits on top of like foundations or something like that, where like the skin like stuff just somehow kind of like messes with the foundation underneath, and it's just, it is not a good touch-up concealer. However, the Lancome is actually what I will use to touch up my face throughout the day. So actually, even before I started filming this video today, because I'm actually on, this is all day like makeup now. I didn't redo my makeup before coming on camera. I actually just added this and smoothed this literally right into the under eyes here, just a little bit on my face to just give me a little bit of extra coverage. And like, I mean, I can't tell that I touched up my makeup, can you? So in that regard, the Lancome definitely is a better touch-up product. Final thoughts on who officially won this battle. I think they both serve different purposes, if that makes sense. Now, I'm not advocating for you to go and like buy both of them. If you're going to choose one concealer to go with, the one that I think is the most like multi-use is the Lancome Serum Concealer. Like this is a lovely formula. Works really well, wears nicely throughout the day as long as it's on top of a skin tint or a foundation. Like it's a little bit more versatile, if that makes sense. Now, if you're someone who all you want to wear is concealer and you want something that's going to be like, definitely has, you know, some skincare built in, it's going to make sure that your under eyes stay very hydrated, it's going to make sure that like it lasts throughout the day on its own, like you are a simple, you know, just one step, one and done kind of a makeup person, then I would recommend the Estee Lauder, because this actually was really nice again on its own. Like I was happiest with this when I did not have anything else on my face and I was just wearing like eye makeup and concealer. So it was very interesting trying both of these products this week, because I was like, in my head, I was like, well, they're in the same category. There's no way that they're that different. And yet somehow or another, like the application of both of them, like the way that they function on my skin is like totally different. So the most like bang for my buck, if that makes sense, like the one that I would be like, I would get this over this, like I would definitely say go Lancome concealer over the Estee Lauder. This one is just a little bit harder to work with. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please feel free to like this video, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and I will see you guys next week. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.